Hey, what's up? I'm Nick Hexum from 311, and this is Riff Lords, and I'm going to show you some 311 riffs and how I came up with them. Hope you enjoy it. I was always completely infatuated with music from my parents' say kindergarten on, and I started piano when I was 5 years old, but I didn't get to learn any rock and roll. But when I was 12 years old, then I got my first guitar, and that's when things really took off. Margaritaville was the very first song that I ever learned on guitar. But when I heard the band The Clash, everything changed for me, and I became completely obsessed, and eventually it led to 311. The song Plain is from our first album that the title of the album is Music. And the reason why we titled the album Music is because we knew we were kind of this new hybrid sound, but we wanted to make sure that it was more musical than, you know, the other sort of rap rockers and stuff like that. So we just called it Music because it was everything we loved about music put into one album. But one of the songs on there is called Plain. It goes like this. So the three things that make that pretty funky is A, the Q-tron, and then the fact that it's shuffled. It's not like a straight beat. It's not like, it's like, which is where you move the sixteenths, some of them closer to give that kind of swing feel. And then it's just very syncopated. Ba, 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 ba. And I realized that came into a lot of our rock riffs too, that kind of syncopation. But it's very simple. It's just A minor, the top three strings, and then you're doing a lot of kind of chicken scratch where you're playing in between. So here is the intro to Plain, slowed down. And at regular speed, it's. My Stony Baby is another tune from our debut album, Music, and we were listening to a lot of funk during that time, a lot of hip hop, a lot of, we come to realize later it was a lot of like meters and New Orleans funk sampled, but that kind of feel really stuck with us. So My Stony Baby is another syncopated riff. So the opening riff of My Stony Baby, it's all just single notes in F Mixolydian, and it starts on 6th to 8th fret. And you got to shuffle it, so it's, and so real slow it's. And then the turnaround. So at full speed. So for down, I picked the mini walnut because this can do so many different sounds, but the song down was played on a Les Paul, but this can do the Les Paul sound, and it's a very specific piece of gear that does the touch wah mixed with distortion. But during the time of writing this in we probably wrote it in 94 and it came out in 95, we were listening to a lot of Helmet, a lot of heavy riff rock, but I wanted it to be funky. So there's that syncopation thing where the accents are on the upbeats. Da 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 da. Then that makes it funky for us. So the down riff at full speed. It's a lot of offbeats, a lot of syncopated accents, and just to slow it down for a little tutorial, I guess first just kind of start with one note, and it's G to A, it's on the 3rd fret. So the first time you play that opening figure, you're playing every note, da, 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 da. But the second time you play it, you go da, da, da. So that little piece of space in there. But anyway, so it's a power chord, so you just play that root and then a 5th above. And the 4th measure is unique. It's a turnaround. So it's got a lot of offbeats. So at full speed. And then the chorus is in E major. You gotta kind of slap the strings to mute for a second, so it's like la 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 da. That's the chorus, and then we had a rock out session that happens after the chorus. Slightly bluesy, and then after that it all just goes down to one note, but they're really kind of unique rhythms. Relatively simple note-wise, but just rhythmically. It's a lot of offbeats and syncopation, and super fun song to play. We've been closing shows like that for a long time. My latest favorite is this 356, which has the fancy inlays like a 355, but it's a little smaller, and I think it's a very comfortable size. It does have the center block, so you can play distortion. And then in this particular one, I added the sustainer pickup, which like originally kind of started with an ebow, which is something you'd hold on the strings to make the strings resonate, but this one has like a reverse magnet that makes the strings vibrate. So you don't even have to play with your, you can be sitting there eating popcorn. But it gives a lot of cool serpentine kind of sounds, especially when you add some delay and reverb. So this has kind of been my latest obsession, is this exact guitar, and the sunburst on it's so beautiful. So it's my baby. Beautiful Disaster was the first song written for Transistor, which was our follow-up to our big breakthrough album, which was the Blue Album, self-titled album. And I was listening to a lot of NoFX and the band The Urge that we used to tour with a lot, and they always had these really cool horn lines that would kind of open their songs. So I kind of wanted to do something a little like that. So, you know, it starts with, one thing that I did a lot was to start riffs that had a lot of palm muting to kind of build the tension, but then would open up when the band would kick in. So like, So kind of removing the palm muting to just open it wide up. And then next what happens is the dual guitar lead where Tim and I play. And something that we've got really into now, doing dual leads, which wasn't really done a lot in alternative rock at the time. It was usually kind of associated with like Thin Lizzy and these like old kind of 70s bands, but I just love melodies. And so to write the what I call a horn line, the way I came up with that was to just kind of run the chords and then just sing. To me, the best way to come up with a good melody is to just sing. And, you know, I heard that's like how Van Halen also would make sure that the solos and stuff were very singable. So I would just like run the chords. And then what was cool was when you go down to like South America, the crowds there will sing the guitar lines back to you. So that was one thing I remembered when we played that song, Beautiful Disaster. But the song goes through a lot of movements, and then the probably next key riff is like an outro. After a chorus, I like to have just a rock out session. And in this song, with the outro riff, I wanted something that was pretty simple to play, because by that time I'm just rocking out, jumping all over the stage. So it's pretty much just like 1 or 2 fingers. I'm just sliding from the 2nd to the 4th fret. One thing that I wanted to achieve on this song was to stay more in the minor, because I always kind of gravitate back to happy major things. But in this song, I kept it kind of minor. So I wanted to start with a riff that was, it's in B minor. And the palm muting just kind of builds up the tension, and then when the band comes in, you just drop the palm muting and just do it wide open. But it's just these 4 notes. And then at the end you go, and then put a little stop there, or a little drum fill, and then start with a verse. It's on the A string, and it's B, A, then G and F sharp. So 2nd fret, and then on the E string, 3rd and 2nd fret. To start the song, I just have some feedback open up, and then I'll play it real slow. With the palm muting to give it pretty bass heavy sound. So at full speed, it sounds like this. So the song Too Late is from our Mosaic album, and I think this was kind of a bit of a breakthrough, because the song has a lot of dynamic like builds where you go through kind of an EDM influence build, and then a drop where you just want to just rock out to the music, no vocals. It's just like a little instrumental break. So I'd say the key riffs, first during the build, I'm just holding an F sharp minor chord, but it's like, and starting it with a lot of palm muting, and then opening it up as you go along. And then the drop, which is pretty complex. I didn't want to have any vocals or anything over it. Goes like this. That's what we call the drop. And it's all in F sharp minor, but one thing you gotta know is that a lot of it's in the blues scale, but then you also gotta hit the minor, or excuse me, the flat fifth to give it even a more metal kind of tone. So it's like. So the second time that riff happens, I wanted to make it a little bit more like a kind of a dubstep riff. So we put a big slide in there. So it goes. And then it goes into a rap where it has a really simple riff because I didn't want to have super busy kind of riff with singing over it. So when S.A. starts rapping, it's just very simple kind of blues scale. I'll play it at full speed. Those long notes there are we call them pushes because they don't happen on the downbeat, they happen right before. So you gotta remember that. But playing it at slower speed, it's. The song All Mixed Up was, off our self-titled album, and we were very into dancehall. And there's this kind of tension within the song because we thought, how cool would it be to have a song with a straight bass line that's not shuffled at all? So the bass line is like, it's like ba 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 ba. It's very straight, but then the drums are like. So we've got that tension of shuffling drums, but with straight bass line. I mean, if you're going to do it all shuffled, then the bass line would be like boom, boom, ba ba. But we don't do it like that. We go. But then with a shuffled drum loop, the intro chords are, it's a C sharp major 7, and then a D minor 7, and then B flat 7. So it's. So, and then I'm singing still within the Mixolydian. You've got to trust your instincts. And it just kind of works, but I don't know why this first chord works because it's like the minor third, but I'm singing more of a major line over it. But anyway, real slow, it's just. At full speed, it's like, and I think we had a compressor going on to make it a little flattened out. So it's. song Freeze Time opens the Sound System album, and there's a pretty distinct tone to it because I used a regular distortion amp, but then I also had a subwoofer underneath it. And with the palm muting, you get that heaviness that kind of shakes the room. And if you have a subwoofer attached to your guitar amp, then it really makes the room shake. But it's in F sharp minor, and it's just, well, playing it at full speed, it's like. And again, it started palm muting, but then during the intro, we kind of open it up. So then you do less and less palm muting to make it kind of like a crescendo and a build. So it starts like this. And like I said, it's pretty simple all on the downbeats, but again, it has like a shuffle drum that makes it more 311 instead of just simple. But it's all just a power chord, root and fifth. So real slow. I guess first you kind of want to know the root notes, and it's. So that's the riff, and then you just do every one of those with a fifth above it. And at full speed. And then the mosh pit starts going crazy. So the song Creatures is on Evolver, and up to that point, the song Down had been like one that would just make the crowd go crazy, and I wanted to one-up it a little bit. So I started with, first of all, you don't, for the intro, you don't use full distortion. You want to have kind of a half distortion. So full distortion would be like, but I kind of back it off. Just so the harder you play, you can hear the distortion come in and out, and you can hear the dynamics a little bit better. But first, what the riff sounds like is. So it's, the root is going to be what you're playing on the A string. So if you just start with one note so you can kind of see where the root should be, and it's. But then to make it a unique sounding chord and make it dense, you're also playing the fifth below it and the major third above it. So it's like this. That's why I didn't want it to full distortion, because that's a pretty dense chord, and it would you'd kind of not hear the notes if it was like, if it's too much. So. And then the turnaround. So it's like a ton of offbeats, and I think that songs like Down really used a lot of offbeats to make it funky for us. But so real slow, it's just. So the fourth measure is different with a ton of offbeats, and we call it the turnaround. But at full speed. That intro riff is one that just lets the crowd know that it's about to go down. So this is my oldest guitar in the collection. This is a 1961 ES330. And like I said, it doesn't have a center block, so it has more of a open ringing tone. And then since it has a single coil pickup, where most of mine are double coil, And this one, it doesn't have two pickups. It has one right in the middle. And of course, where the pickup sits makes it very much of a different tone. Right here, you're going to pick up the treble. Over here, you're going to pick up the bass. So this, having one pickup in the middle, it gives it a pretty unique sound. That's from our song, My Heart Sings. I played on this guitar. This is called a major 9. So like a regular 9 is a very common funk and blues chord, but a major 9 has this really nice open major sound. And then I'm leaving this song is called My Heart Sings, by the way, from Uplifter album, but I'm leaving the open E strings, so it's kind of a pedal tone. And then for the turnaround, you can kind of force the major and just leave those open E strings every time. So the verse is just like a 4 a.m. this hotel room and I think of you, not in anger but in danger of calling you. And then the pre-chorus. And then the chorus is still the same major 9, so you just slide up. My heart sings when I think of you, that is what you do, a melody that will settle me. And then my heart sings. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me here on Riff Lords. Super stoked that Gibson asked me to do this. And people ask me all the time for advice for young players. And first I say you got to show your instrument some love every single day. To me, the most important thing as a musician is to remain teachable, which means asking for help, finding new things to excite you, and then taking steps to ask, how do you do that? And then following through. And if that means going down to 3rd Street Promenade and playing for quarters, you got to do it. You know, musicians make music all the time. So best of luck to everybody out there, the young musicians. I love to hear about people coming up, influenced by 311, and just keeping rock and roll alive, because it's just such an important thing. And most importantly, stay positive and love your life.